When it comes to the job market in LA or California, there's a huge discrimination issue going on with Black Americans. Employers are not willing to hire Black Americans, even if they are qualified. Even if they're overly qualified, they're still not willing to hire them. There's a hidden agenda at play here. And it's been going on for quite some time that organizations started to pick this up and investigate it. There's an organization in Los Angeles called the Los Angeles Black Worker Center, where they're currently investigating the discrimination that Black Americans are facing in the job industry in Los Angeles. But they're also providing resources and access to better wages and opportunities. We've seen an increase of employers only wanting to hire people from the Hispanic community, and there's nothing wrong with that because people have to work and provide for their family, but they're not doing it for the right reasons. They're doing it with the intention to control, because when it comes to fighting for injustices or speaking up about certain things, they feel like the Hispanic community is not going to speak up because they're normally quiet. And like we know, when it comes to fighting for injustices or speaking up, Black Americans are always on the forefront fighting for change. Black Americans are always the ones speaking up for everybody, fighting for change. But they feel like with the more Hispanics that they hire, it's easier to control them because some of the times they're undocumented, so they won't cause any problems. They can pay them less. They can mistreat them, disrespect them all they want. They're not going to cause any problems. And that's another issue at play. The other issue is that other people of color are not willing to speak up for Black Americans whatsoever. The only time they speak up to help Black Americans is when they see Black Americans have an advantage that they don't have. It also seems like there's an issue to keep Black Americans at entry-level positions as well and to bully them so they have a harder time moving up in the ranks. Platforms like Indeed and LinkedIn need to do a better job at regulating if these companies are really hiring or not. Because what these companies are doing are they're using LinkedIn and Indeed as a social media tool. They're posting that they're hiring and doing all these paying for the promo, but it's really a marketing tool when they're really not hiring. It seems like LA or California is trying to push Black Americans out, and they're starting with the job industry.
We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're going to get kicked out of being number 2, you're going to go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're going to get when you become number 4.
President Biden, do you support reparations?
Well, I mean, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of our 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America.
It's the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land. Through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. But not only did they give the land, they built land-grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. And this is what we are faced with. And this is the reality. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we are coming to get our check.
We are owed $104 trillion on the very low end, plus $735 billion recurring. This number does not include the cost of about 50 Black Wall Streets that were decimated, nor compound interest from 2017 when Sean D. Rochester's book, The Black Tax, was published, nor the cost of black life, nor the cost of living increases, nor the war on drugs, nor the current day pandemic. The number I'm working with is for slavery, Jim Crow, and accrued ongoing systemic racism, oppression, and disadvantage in the country our ancestors built with their lives.
Good afternoon on the West Coast. Good afternoon in the mountains. Good afternoon in the central. Good afternoon on the east. You know exactly who it is, family. Angela Nirvana, your hostess with the mostest on the reparations perspective, bringing you those Negro freedmen hot topics and making the case for reparations, making the case for weaponizing our vote, socializing our suffering, making the case for the Black American Negro freedman, descendant of the emancipated, to flourish in the country of our ancestors. Lord, I keep botching that word. How y'all doing, family? Welcome to the live. And as per usual, I will not disappoint. It will be live and lit over in Cheer. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. And if you feel so compelled to bless the channel, please, you can cash at me at $TRP-TV. Welcome, Ivy. I see you, fam. Welcome, Ivy Dreams. Mackie Samuels is already in the chat to make recommendations. I am super excited to see you all ready to go. And if you're tuning in from Facebook, welcome. If you'd like your comments to be read and to be memorialized as a part of this very, very important broadcast, you must join us over here on ScrewTube, okay? Do know that I am being shadow banned, okay? I have upset, or at least helped to participate in the upset of the Demon Rats this election cycle. And so they are leaning in on your sister from another mister. And so therefore, I need you all to make this messaging go viral, because I tell no lies. You see what that title says? I tell no lies. What I am trying to warn you about nationwide, and have been warning you about since becoming a co-founder of the grassroots contemporary reparations movement, is how our government, specifically the Demon Rats and the Rhino Repugnant clans, are intentionally weaponizing our never-ending Holocaust to erase and replace us with immigrants of the melanated persuasion et al. Okay? This is not just them. Please know that the bulk of the people that have replaced us here in Southern California have been Hispanic. And there's some nasty little buggers too. And somebody has to tell the truth about that. I've been out here since 2003. So I think I'm an authority. I'm not gaslighting you. I'm not fear-mongering you. I'm telling you what it is. As the beautiful young sister who opened up today's broadcast intimated. And as California goes, we are the litmus test for the rest of the nation. And so while, yes, Mackie Samuels, I see you leaning in like many other Negroes who are telling us to uproot and relocate to other parts of the country where we have stronger numbers. And I'll read your comments towards the end of the broadcast, okay? But at a glance, I've seen this migration back south, and I'm here to tell you, immigration is taking over the South too. So it doesn't matter if we're Congress. Well, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter. I'm sure on some level it matters if we're congregated and have the numbers, because numbers is power. But if you have no control, if you're not in the public-private sector, if you're not a public official, How in the world does that matter? You see, most of the folks that are selling us out either descend from our tribe or they're a melanated immigrant. Yes, these are the ones selling us out right now as part of the Congressional Black Caucuses. Okay, I did a broadcast about that last week with Sir Arthur Ward from Chicago Freedmen. If you haven't seen it, check it out. We went hard in the paint for about 3 hours, which was not the intent. But the people that are selling us out look like us. And thankfully, after 5 years of sounding the alarm for deportation and closed borders, we were successful in getting 28% of our registered voters to the polls to derail the demon rats. They need to fail for several election cycles. We've been doing this dance and this race to the bottom cast for about 70 years now. And so that has got to end. And it can't be no one and done. That's why I'm back over here, because we were successful. And it's not going to be no one and done. I am here to decimate Newsom's chances. Yes, I am. He's next in line to run for the president. And so, yeah, I'm over here to make sure he fails epically in 28. Okay, when the demon rats have declared war on you, you don't niggardly vote the couch when there's 282 million immigrants in this country with 50 million DACA and illegal on deck to become citizens with the Negro vote. That's not how any of this works. And yes, I'm referring to us as Negro because Barack Obama and Ming, what's her name? Grace Ming, decided to get rid of the term, which wipes out 22 million of us in terms of our identity. So until we can get what we need from the Office of Management and Budget, we've been fighting them for delineation because they know and are complicit with our government in flat blackness. Yes, I was in a meeting with them. And I'm paraphrasing, but what I heard as the reparations perspective. You know, I hear and say things very differently, right? So what I heard them say in that meeting was that as we're being genocided, the reason why we stay flat at around 13, 14%, which I do not believe, that's a lie. I believe we're more around 60 million up in here, but I digress. The OMB out of their own mouths said, as we're being genocided, they are replacing us with the nuclear family we once were. Okay? With melanated, moneyed, nuclear family immigrants. Yes. That's why I have to come back and back and back. I will be back to talk about how immigration is encroaching on the South. My daughter, who attends an HBCU, hi, Rich Jacker, who attends an HBCU, has already stated in the South, okay, that we are homeless in record number. So that doesn't work either. And like I said, when the nation goes the way of California, where is the Negro going? And with what? We have no money for this. I know the folks that got the microphone with the larger audiences, they're set. Guess how they got their reparations? By selling 80% of our collective out. Disclaimer, I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti the government's weaponization of immigration against the Negro freedmen to keep us bottom caste to our extinction in the country of our ancestors. Because I know that we don't have the resources to move out of the state, let alone out of the country. And what country do you know that's going to take us in numbers? I mean, one of us over in the continent of Africa. What one of us do you know personally who is benefiting from the governments in the very corrupt continent of Africa? Who? Put it in the chat. Who's benefiting from EBT and cash aid in 5-star hotel living. Who? Who's benefiting from jobs and home ownership with $125,000 down payment assistance? Who? You tell me in the chat which of these lovely countries is waiting with bated breath, of the ones that ain't trying to cram to get up in this piece. You tell me of who's left that's giving away our reparations, their reparations and protections and taxes and Social Security, if they have that. I don't really know. You let me know in the chat which of these countries is giving that away to the Negro freedmen. And this is why I say we must weaponize our vote. Because voting the couch, you ain't gonna have a couch, right, Roots Tracker? We discussed that. Y'all keep voting the couch, you ain't gonna have one. Trust to believe, because it's already happened to us out here in sunny Southern California. Now, as far as I'm concerned, as a descendant of the emancipated, we should be able to live and have representation all over the country. That's what our ancestors fought and died for. Okay, so the fact that we now have to have another migration and all this nonsense, when I absolutely love Southern California, but I understand how we got here and why there's only about 2 million of us left in the entire state. Okay, down from around 17% when we were at our biggest numbers, while the Hispanics have grown over 50%. But I don't have time to tarry. Y'all know I was born to talk. So I want to get into the nonsense that's happening down here. Let's start first with Newsom and his bullshiggity. Okay. Yeah, I'm working to defeat him. That starts now. It took me 5 years to get y'all to vote for deportation and closed borders. So I don't have time to tarry. I'm going to do and show you who Newsom is. You should already be able to tell by the numbers of us that are homeless here in Southern California and in Northern California, Oakland and in LA. You should be able to tell by those numbers how ineffective Newsom and Skamala were for the state of California. That's why we didn't vote for her when she was running for president. But I digress. Let me get into the content. I'm sharing my screen, and then I'm going to talk it through like I always do. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Thank you in advance. So let's share the screen. Y'all be patient with me. I wear all the hats over here. So I might move a little slow, but I'm going to get this point across. Do you understand me? Okay. Newsom. As if we aren't struggling and suffering enough. Can y'all see that screen? Let me make sure. Okay. Yeah, as if the Negro freedmen ain't having a hard enough time because they tricked us on the reparations. We're going to get into a little of that too. They tricked us on the reparations, which we need to close this gap down here. They've stolen our properties by eminent domain, and they have used our reparations and protections and taxes and Social Security to do what? Fight for illegals making money. Some of the illegals have been working for over 20 years. So much for E-Verify, but I digress. Let me get into the article. Keep your comments flowing. I'm going to get to them. I'm going to try to get to them in about an hour's time so that we can close it out with your comments. I want to get into it. Yes. So let me go over here and read to you. Newsom calls special session to Trump-proof California. Yes, he did. No reparations, but he wants to spend $100 million protecting illegals. Newsom wants the new legislature to protect California from Donald Trump on civil rights, reproductive freedom, climate action, and immigrant families. Governor Gavin Newsom on Thursday called newly elected state lawmakers to work as soon as they're sworn in on December 2nd for a special session to safeguard California values. Safeguard California values, excluding any sense of loyalty or concern about the Negro freedmen, as the state prepares again to be a liberal antagonist to the upcoming Trump administration. Now, just some of you that have been rolling with me for a long time, you understand that when Trump was in office, he had control over these borders. These illegals were afraid to enter the country, okay? They were afraid when Trump was in office. He had a remain in Mexico policy that Joe Crow overturned pretty much day one. He overturned that, tore down the wall, and started selling parts of that wall. But when Trump was in office, he had a control over the borders. ICE was processing deportations, ICE was deporting, not processing illegals at the border, akin to Mayorkas and the like. And unemployment down here was 5%. But what does Newsom decide to do? He wants to safeguard the California values of protecting illegals, protecting immigrants. And oh, by the way, I found out that they're in a race, Mayor Karen Bass, to actually make this a sanctuary, make LA a sanctuary city. Apparently it's not. But let me move on. In other words, they want to gear up for lawsuits against Trump. In a proclamation declaring the special session, Newsom said he wants the legislature to approve funding for the Department of Justice and other state agencies to immediately file affirmative litigation. We know all too well about affirmative, right? Affirmative action that has not served us in so long. It's easy to forget that it was once for us. It's easy to forget that that's how many silent gen and boomers got ahead, how they became homeowners. Was affirmative action and civil rights that our ancestors fought and died for, right? Back to the text. Legislative sources said the special session is intended to be narrowly focused on providing legal resources to the Attorney General's office, perhaps as much as $100 million to fight the Trump administration, to hold on to illegals who have broken the law to be in the state of California. Yes, now, they earmarked about $12 million for us to establish our Office of Freedmen Affairs. I may be botching that. It's named many different things throughout the country as we fight to get our equivalent of what Obama gave to the immigrants, which is the Office of New Americas that has been established all over the country, especially in demon radically ran cities and states, okay? So we've been fighting as a contemporary grassroots reparations movement to get our own bureau so that we can actually get resources filtering through our own. The grassroots needs to control it, right? Because we see what the likes of a Mark Morial from the National Urban League, we see what the likes of the NAACP are doing with money intended for us. They're lining their own pockets for their own reparations. They're not fighting on our behalf. So we effectively secured $12 million. And guess who we had to get into a fight with over the $12 million? Pan-Africanist organizations that want about $6 million of that monies. None of it's been released, right? None of it. These bills, as we're going to see shortly, did not make it to the floor for a vote because the Congressional Legislative Black Caucuses, the California Legislative Black Caucuses here in Southern California, got in bed with Newsom during an election cycle for Skamala, and Newsom basically told them, allegedly, and from what I've heard, okay, to stand down in bringing those bills to the floor, because if they made it to the floor, he was going to have to veto. And he didn't want to veto those reparations bills because they were in an election season with Skamala, okay? So, yeah, but you're talking a measly $12 million The same fight we had with the Pan-Africans who want race-based reparations, okay, when in fact being in this country of milk and honey, built on the backs of our ancestors' most heinous chattel slavery, is the immigrant reparation. So we had to fight them on lineage-based reparations at the very beginning of the 2-year task force. And now we got to fight them to get the 12 million, the measly 12 million, to get an Office of Freedmen Affairs. We had a task force that was comprised, most of which was not about that Negro freedman life. We didn't have people from the grassroots running any of it. But he can, out of his mouth, want to earmark $100 million so that illegals can get legal representation to stay in the country after having broken the law. So Trump was actually good for California, and I would venture to say he'll be good for the nation, because they must have let in around 25 million illegals. They like to modify the numbers and say, oh, it's been about 10 million, blah, blah, blah. But when you got 282 million dumped on you, 1 million, 100 million, listen, it don't matter. All of it means we're outmanned, outgunned, don't have any representation, just simply being taxed. And so when that happens, you don't have anyone that can come and stand on behalf of Mr. Jordan Neely. That's coming in as soon as I can get myself together on that one. That'll be a different broadcast. But we don't have anybody. We're just simply being taxed without representation. And like I said, a lot of that was covered last week. If you didn't see that video, check that out. But yeah, so we're now in a fight with Pan-Africans to actually get the 12 million that was earmarked for the Office of Freedmen Affairs down here. And none of it has come to fore. But anyway, I'll keep moving on with the article. The goal is to appropriate the money before President-elect Donald Trump is sworn in on January 20th, though given how many new members are joining the legislature, they may not be ready to act until early January. As priorities for California's opposition, Newsom listed civil and reproductive rights. All of this is a smokescreen for the real issue. So he listed civil and reproductive rights. Now, we know that there's nothing reproducing about putting Planned Parenthood in our communities while we suffer the highest rates of abortion. There's nothing reproductive in that. That's why Kamala failed epically on the national stage when it came to running on blacks murdering more of their babies. Okay? Climate change, they don't care. If they cared, they would have done something about climate change a long time ago. They've been in power for 12 of 16 years. A lot of these things that they claim to be concerned about are just money grabs to line their own pockets. Trump's threat to withhold disaster relief dollars and the potential repeal of deportation protections for immigrants who were brought to the country without authorization as children. There we go. That's the meat and potatoes, family. This 100 million is the priority of California to mitigate the Trump withholding disaster relief dollars and the repeal of deportation protections for immigrants who were brought to the country without authorization as children. That's what they're fighting for. But this is how you have to read. You have to read it with your third eye, which is your first eye. You can't just read it and take it literally. Just like the Bible, you've got to ask God, what is the spiritual manna you are trying to impart upon me? Because that's your spiritual blueprint. But I'm not going to church on y'all right now. Let me just keep on with the text. Quote, the freedoms we hold dear in California are under attack and we won't sit idle, Newsom said in a statement. California has faced this challenge before and we know how to respond. Well, what the freedoms he's talking about is exclusively for immigrants, including Newsom. You see, the only indigenous people to this country is the Negro freedmen. And just like they're trying to change our history of today, they changed our history of yesteryear. But that's a whole nother story for another day. I just want you to understand that these immigrants, including Newsom, they literally don't give a damn about our freedoms to live and coexist and to flourish wherever we choose to be, including California. They've legislated us out by requiring in many interviews that Spanish be, you be able to speak Spanish. And even when you speak it as fluently as Pedro, you don't have the complexion for protection for hire. And this is happening all over the country. And this is one thing that I really pray that Trump tackles, making English the standard language of this country, so that these demon rats and repugnant clans alike, the rhinos in particular, can't use language and weaponize it against us to keep us out of the job market. Because that's how it's being used, not just in California, all over the country. Okay? It hasn't encroached as much on the South as it has New York, Chicago, and California. But California went first with this bullshiggity. This has been going on for a while, like the young sister intimated, okay, at the top of the broadcast. It appears that Trump won't sit idle either. A day after Newsom's announcement, the president-elect posted on his Truth Social account that Governor Gavin Newsom is trying to kill our nation's beautiful California and stopping all of the great things that can be done to make California great again. He's absolutely correct. He's absolutely correct. This homeless situation has encroached on Beverly Hills. Okay? During the riots, it was all over Rodeo Drive. That wasn't us rioting. Those were the immigrants. These immigrants are rioting all over the country. It looks like a cesspool in certain parts of California. Okay, so Trump is absolutely correct. They want to try to stop him. But Holman and Trump got something for that arse, okay? So miss me with it. You're not going to be able to successfully, protect your precious illegals. So let's get into the next article. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Welcome, Beth. I see you, fam. Welcome, November. I'll be over to read your chats after I finish sharing my articles that I've set up for today's broadcast. So stand by. Let me share my screen. Uh-oh. Let me stop that. That's not what I meant to share. Stand by, family. Let's see here. Okay. Now, this is problematic here too. So, as I share with you guys, let me make sure you can see the screen because I can't see you. Just continue your chats. Multi-generational mulatto, welcome to the live. B1 Beauty Supply, welcome to the live. Thank you for caring about the Negro freedmen flourishing in the country of our ancestors. Okay, so I want to make sure y'all can see that because I got to go. I got to go back to the other screen. Hi, Brittany. I'll be back over in a minute. Okay, Trump. So this is more the fear mongering. Like I taught you guys last week with Sir Arthur Ward, Chicago freedman. They're trying to act as if Trump deporting illegals is going to somehow have an impact on Black American Negro freedmen, descendants of the emancipated. This is what I tell you guys all the time. They love weaponizing and using us to vote for our own extinction with them. So what do when we want to sell the soap? Make it appear, lie to the public that this somehow is going to hurt the Negro freedmen. It's all a lie. Trump's plans for mass deportations and tariffs could severely cost Black households. Anything that raises consumer prices on necessities will hit Black Americans hard, said the National Urban League president and CEO, Mark Morial, who is what, family, all together now? An immigrant. He is a melanated immigrant running what used to be our National Urban League. Anytime white money backs it, it's no longer representing you, Negro freedmen. And white folks helped to co-found the NAACP. And for a short window, that was working for us, but it isn't anymore and hasn't in a long time. You need to withdraw all support. Same thing is true with the National Urban League. Mark Morial is a melanated immigrant. Now, he wasn't concerned about the consumer prices being raised as 25 million illegals were allowed to cross the border. He wasn't crying and complaining when Joe Crow was flying in moneyed immigrants under the name of refugee and asylum seeker on night flights while we slept to bring them into the interior of the country. You didn't hear none of this. But now that Trump is talking about mass deportation on day one, ding, 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 here comes Mark Morial. Anything that raises consumer prices on necessities will hit Black Americans hard. How stupid is that? The reasons why prices went through the roof is because demand is through the roof. Demand is through the roof because of illegals crossing the border. That Joe Crow opened it up to them without vetting nor vaxing them. Okay? This is why you see a lot of this gang activity happening. And where do they dump this? Right in our communities. So he's alive. There's an inverse relationship. Once Trump gets rid of the illegals, all of them, which is what he's threatening, he's going to start with the criminals. Once he gets rid of the illegals, now it drives down demand. There's more supply. It eases up prices. Unlike Kamala trying to make it a corporation thing. Yes, there's corporate greed. Kamala should know all about that after spending in excess of $1.5 billion on a failed campaign of artists twerking on her campaign trail and the like. So yeah, they know all about wasteful spending, but there's an inverse relationship. Fewer people, more supply, the prices will level off. She was trying to sell y'all on going after the grocery stores and those conglomerates for price gouging. Oh, Lord have mercy. We got a lot to learn, family. The economy, this is what she says. The economy, let's hear it. What's she saying? Oh, we ain't gonna listen to it on 19 minutes. I'll scrub it and see if there's anything for y'all to hear. The economy of Los Angeles will come to a halt, said Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, as the city prepares for the incoming Trump administration's threat of mass deportation of undocumented immigrants soon after Donald Trump is inaugurated on January 20th, 2025. All right. This is what I mean. Now, she looks like us, just like Kamala look like us, but all skin folk ain't kinfolk, and even your kinfolk will do you in. Someone told me that the people she rides for and with, that is who she is. That's the nature of who she is. That's her lineage. She's Latino. She might be mixed, but the bottom line is, in our humble beginnings, we sat down with her about reparations and nothing came of it. Now we see why. She's too busy clutching her invisible pearls to save her people. And this is what happens when you don't go out to vote. Now, you didn't have to cast a vote for the president to get involved with your local politics. Because when you're not at the table, you're on the menu. That's how we became 51% out here. Okay? And that's why black folks are leaving LA in droves. Can't afford to be here. Because by and large, 40% of us don't show up to the polls to vote. And many of us don't even show up during midterms. And so what you end up doing is you set yourself up to be controlled in the public, private sector, and in politics. That's what happens when you don't go out here and run candidates and vote in your own interest. Back to the text. Economists note that migrant labor critically supports the national economy, particularly in U.S. cities. Migrant labor only critically supports the national economy. It's because of our leaders in the Demon Rat and the Repugnant Clan, and the liberal progressive Demon Rat and the Rhino Repugnant Clan in particular, are the ones hiring illegals. Now, there was a great migration in the very beginning where we migrated from the Jim Crow South to other parts of the country, including California. We left there because our government, after we fought and won the Civil War, they abandoned us and left us to our own devices with those Confederates down there that were lynching us, burning down our businesses, everything of the nature. So that drove us out of the South. And once we got into the northern regions and out west and things of this nature, we were used to lower the wages or to get cheaper labor as compared to white folks. They were hotter than fish grease like I am right now, that the largesse of our collective can't find work because instead of paying us our 40 acres and a mule with interest, like the young people, Cash Gaines says, 40 acres and a Lexus, 40 acres and a Tesla. Instead of doing that, they're using our reparations once again, akin to how they used them during the Homestead Act. That is a continuation when you look at the erasure of student loan debt. So they used our reparations to bring in the floodgate of European immigrants because post-slavery, we outnumbered the whites. So they put our reparations, our 40 acres and a mule, after murdering Lincoln, they just decided to take it from us and disperse it to them. And that continues through to this day. And so that's why you see the Demon Rats feverishly on their watch trying to flood the country with cheap labor, illegals, because E-Verify isn't being enforced. It's not costing these companies to erase us in the workforce. And that's why they're doing it. So they're taking our reparations and protections and doing everything in their power to sound the alarm, to save corporations money on labor, and to economically genocide us. Economists note that migrant labor, okay, I read that part. However, if immigrant workers are forced to leave the country, the impact would be significant, said Mayor Bass. She told the Griot LA is made up of a very large immigrant population, which includes a sizable undocumented population. You see that? So these are the ones they're seeking to protect. She doesn't talk about how we are in the minority in terms of our numbers, but the majority of us are homeless. She's not talking about getting them care, getting them help, putting them in stable homes. They spend close to $1 trillion on homelessness out here, and we still ain't housed but a few people. She's not talking about helping to clean those people up and get them into some type of workforce center to get them labor ready. No. She's not sounding the alarm to the Negro freedmen who was legislated out of the state of California to get ready for Trump's deportation so they can come back into the state that we love and assume these jobs, because we're not just being impacted in the workforce in the orange groves, family. This is happening all the way up and through the corporate executive levels. I told you guys many times, it's happened at Wells Fargo Bank. It was a total backlash. It was a total removal of the Negro freedmen. I was there for it. I experienced it. That's one of the reasons why I fight so hard for the line, because I was clipping along with all of my experience in a diverse body of industries, my degree, my home ownership. It didn't matter to them. When they were ready to pull the rug out from under you, that's exactly what they do. And so what I implore upon you, family, is not to just rely on your job. Get something else going for yourself. Okay? Get something else going for yourself. You need your own business, because when the corporations decide to erase and replace, they've only got you in mind. And so what you want to also do, family, during this time all over the country is get into your local work source center, because there is going to be a vacuum that needs to be filled with Negro freedmen in construction, in agriculture, in industrial arts, the trades. Yeah, you guys get in position. If your licenses have expired because it's been a long time coming since you got work, get everything renewed, get everything in order. Look at the industries where these immigrants have dominated and make sure you're ready to ease right on in there. That's what happened when Trump was in office last time. There was a plant in the South. I'm going to bring you that story another time, where he went in there and cleaned house. And Negro freedmen came in and took up those jobs. You see, these companies can't sell us a slave wage. We're not going to be paid slave wages. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt and the bumper sticker. We as Negro freedmen demand an American wage and protections. And so what the demon rats are hoping to do, since we've awakened and we're now demanding tangibles in exchange for our vote, akin to every other group, we're experiencing the backlash wherein they're trying to flood our communities with unvetted, unaxed immigrants to replace us as voters and in the workforce. And in lieu of us having jobs, they've set up the preschool to prison pipeline for free slave labor from the Negro freedmen. When you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. Use this time. Now is the time to make sure you do two things. Prepare yourself for the workforce, because they're not just in the orange groves. They're also in corporate professional positions. She just told you here. Very large immigrant population out here in California, which includes a sizable undocumented population, and establish a small business. Back to the text. Less workers means higher wages, because employers will need to increase what they pay to attract more applicants to the jobs vacated by the deported workers, explained Alan Boomer, Chief Investment Officer at Momentum Advisors. As labor costs rise, businesses will be faced with the choice of cutting their own profits or raising prices. Ain't that about a blip? Family, they stay telling on themselves, don't they? We already know that hiring immigrants is about lowering wages to give the corporations a break. But ain't that about a blip? In a country where the median home price nationally is around $400,000 to $500,000. I know out here in California, right down the street from my home, there's a house that had a price tag of $1 million, close to it, like in the high 900,000s. So these corporations are complicit. And until they start getting arrested for this foolishness, we will never get fairness in the workforce. We will never get a fair salary. This is why they're destroying unions and the whole 9 yards. Because you got economists more concerned, you've got elected officials more concerned about the corporation bottom line, about the fact that, what's that CEO that just recently was murked? I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he was earning $10 million a year working for United Healthcare. So this is what that will start to encroach on, right? Shareholder profits and these greedy ass CEO, CFO, COO, executives of these businesses. They don't want to cut. They don't want to share, but they want to raise the prices on housing where you can never be able to get invested and bequeath land or property to your offspring. Yeah, less workers, you see. They're not talking about let's go back and bring in the Negro freedmen to assume the jobs that we took from them to suppress wages and to render them a permanent bottom caste. No. They're more concerned about keeping the illegals, the undocumented, gainfully employed while we're being extincted. Mayor Bass said aside from President-elect Trump's deportation plan being extremely cruel, it would also devastate local economies as she and other state and local leaders brace for the threat to become a reality. I didn't hear Mayor Bass say any of these things concerning what happens to the Negro freedmen down here. She said none of this when immigration, the floodgates was open on our state. She said none of this when the floodgates were open down here. The borders left wide open to bring in all manner of unvetted immigrants, dropping them into Black communities where they were bombing us out. Yes, bombing Negro freedmen out of their own neighborhoods. They sure were. I didn't hear the Black elected officials talk anything about how those horrific immigrants in our communities drove us out of the community. Heard none of that. But here, it's extremely cruel to deport people who have broken the law. Mark Morial, president and CEO of the National Urban League, said there would be a harsh economic impact on Black communities. No, once again, lies. If anything, this will help us to flourish. We have the highest rates of unemployment in the country. Okay, back to that nonsense. That's not true. Anything that raises consumer prices on necessities will hit Black Americans hard. No harder than what's currently occurring. Increased cost of living for food, household items, appliances, the civil rights leader told the Griot. Yeah, the melanated immigrant told the Griot. Because that's what happens when you vote the couch. You don't get anybody in there from the grassroots that's representing you, and we need to be running people like a Marcel Dixon all over the country. It's the only way this changes. Sanctuary cities are spread throughout the nation, including New York City, Washington, D.C., used to be Chocolate City, and Baltimore, Maryland. You see that? Being replaced wherever Black folks are in every demon radically ran city and state. We're being replaced. However, in Los Angeles, the city council is poised to codify the designation of a sanctuary city for migrants into law. Did y'all know that? That I don't even know about most, I had no idea we weren't already a sanctuary city when we've got over 50% of our population is Hispanic. In LA, the city council is poised to codify the designation of a sanctuary city for migrants into law. The ordinance would also prohibit city resources or personnel from being used to help the federal immigration law enforcement. Yes, what they're intending to do is to end your pension if you get involved and try to assist. The ordinance would also prohibit city resources, the cops, or personnel from being used to help federal immigration law enforcement. Even with the designation expected to become law, Mayor Bass feels the threat of mass deportation sends a ripple of tremendous fear in the community. Only the community she is from and whom she serves. She said the city could see an economic shuddering if immigrants are deported and if Trump seeks to retaliate against sanctuary cities with actions like withholding federal funding for cities providing safe havens for migrants. Yes. Yes, Trump. Yes, that's what I voted for, Trump. Yes. Withhold the resources and put them in jail and throw away the key. Seydou, an African migrant who recently spoke to the griot, was deported during Trump's first term in office. Thank you, Trump. The cause of his deportation was due to missing a court date. However, Seydou said he never saw the email. Though he had lived in the United States for years, he ultimately got caught up in the red tape of America's immigration system. Let me tell you about these African immigrants, many of whom descend from slave traders. They are here to replace and erase you. Yes, they are. Down here in LA, you've heard me cite many times that a free PDF, the Los Angeles Color of Wealth report, stated that African blacks were $60,000 liquid to U.S. black $200 liquid. They were 54% degreed to our 44% degreed. Their median income was $113,500 to our $53,500. Hispanics were 17% degreed, and their median income was within 3,500 of ours at $50,000. 20 years ago. Okay? 20 years ago. And this feels like a perfect time to share one of my favorite videos about this African woman who says she's not here to help the Negro freedmen get reparations and to flourish. She's here to take. Stand by. Let me share that and we'll come back and finish this out. Since we're talking Africans, please be sure to like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Welcome the Hula Gang. Michael Pan, Marvin C., Chuck Wu Igwe. Okay, so let me stop and I'm going to share this video. Stand by. Remember, I'm the only one running everything over here. I go slow so I don't lose a whole broadcast, okay? Stand by. Let me stop there. Lord, I got to go slow, y'all. Oh, I don't want to lose y'all. Okay, share the screen. I think I have her queued up. I'm borrowing this from Phil Scott from the African Diaspora News Channel. This is his broadcast. Shout out to Phil. Okay, make that bigger.
And one thing only that African people care about, including me myself. I come to your country. I don't care where it is. I am here to make money. That's just the sad reality. But it is the reality. Me as myself, when I went to Nairobi, when I lived in Kenya, I went to take. When I went to South Africa, I went to take. When I went to Dubai, I went to take, I did not go to build the countries, because in my country where I come from, I am poor, and I left my country because there's nothing for me to do. I didn't see any ways of getting rich in my country, so I decided to come to other countries to do something for myself. So unfortunately, I can't tell my African American brothers and sisters that when African people come to America, expect them to build with you. No, we're here to take. We are here to take. The American government, like right now, it's welcoming immigrants like nobody's business. Every African person who is in a dire situation or who sees there's an opportunity for me to get a green card, they would do whatever it takes to come to America, knowing very well that the government right now is prioritizing foreigners instead of its own people, which is not my fault. My own business is to come there and grab whatever I can. And if your government is supporting me to take as much as I can, who am I to refuse? Who doesn't want to live in America? So don't be surprised when you see these African men or African women get with older men or older women just to get the green card. That is what we do because we are in a dire situation in our countries. So we are running away to come to your country so we can have a better life, because, I mean, who does not know about the American dream? And then if we come and then Joe Biden pampers us and forgets that he has Democrats to take care of, it's none of our business. That's the reality. That's the reality. When we come there, don't expect us to build America for who? You have a lot we are here to take. That's the truth. And I know I might sound arrogant, but I'm not a person who sugarcoats the truth. So when we come to your countries, just know we are not here to have mercy on you. We are here to take.
There you have it. I can pass the plate on that. She's not alone. The Hispanics are here to take. The Asians are here to take. Scumulous people, East Indian Brahmin caste is here to take. And my question to you is, when the nation becomes California, where are you going and with what? Y'all better fight. When the demon rats have declared war on you, you don't vote the couch. You get to the polls. You run your candidates. You do whatever it takes to put the mask on your own lineage. They of all people have taught us how to be tribal. This ain't a personality contest. I'm not here to save or spare nobody's feelings up in here. I have a daughter to leave this country to, akin to what my ancestors left for me and for us. I'm fighting for her to have something to hold on to so she can flourish in the country of our ancestors. And while we still got the vote, for 4 more years, we need to be busy in the public-private sector and in politics. We must, or we're done. Because if she didn't tell anything else, she told the TR Roof up in here today. Okay? Back to the text. Let me share my screen. Finish this article. Then I'm not going to do the third segment. I'm going to have to wait for that to next week because we're already at 2 o'clock and I want to get in some of your comments. Oh, y'all. Listen, Barbara Jordan told y'all, Representative Barbara Jordan told y'all, Frederick Douglass, Martin Luther King Jr., Coretta Scott King, they've been telling y'all that this is a problem. Dr. Claude Anderson. So I guess I'm going to have to be the bad girl, and continue in their tradition until we wake up and get that we are out of time. So let me go back to that text. Okay. Where I left off and finish it out. So therefore, there goes your Africans. Caribbeans too, Mark Morial. undermining us at the OMB when we fought for delineation. Yeah, he's Caribbean. When asked if he would like to return to the U.S. if given the opportunity, Seydu, who now works on an oil barge in West Africa, said flatly, no, due to the experience of being deported. Good. How about we deport all of them? And for them to not want to come back due to deportation. Great. Because y'all don't want to do it the legal way. And please don't come. Okay, Chuck Wu, I saw you said you're married into FBA. Listen, let's not be niggering and act as if I'm throwing everybody into the pot, okay? There are some exceptions here, but I should not even have to say that. I am tired of apologizing. I'm tired of explaining that I'm not anti-immigrant. I'm anti our government's weaponization of immigration against the Negro freedmen to keep us bottom caste to our extinction with immigrants. But I'll continue to say it. But I'm saying, I know that some of y'all have intermarried. I'm going to come back with a whole segment on why it's so much more powerful for the Negro freedmen to give back to the nuclear Negro freedmen family. That's going to be another broadcast for another day. But in the meantime, Chuck Wu, and to all of you who are allies, thank you. Okay? I'm trying to educate my people. 92% of our registered women voters voted Skamala. And 78% of our registered men voted Skamala. Those numbers aren't making me very happy because I had a whole Negro freedmen protest voter strategy that was effective, along with a bunch of my comrades throughout the country who were also spreading the alarm about deportation and closed borders for a vote. So I'm here. I returned after about 18-month hiatus. I'm trying to find my tribe of rebels. I'm trying to find the revolutionaries who aren't afraid to hold their nose and to go vote for Trump or whomever we need to secure our borders so that we can flourish in the country of our ancestors. You see what they're doing. They're in a pretend fire that there's somehow not going to be anybody to work the jobs we were working before they flood the country with illegals. And even mass immigration is a problem. All of that needs to be on hold until the Black American Negro freedman descendant of the emancipated is flourishing in the country of its ancestors. I don't want none of it because we are on the front line of the guillotine of immigration. That hurts us the most because they don't give a damn about dumping it into our communities and making us eat the cost of it. Another harsh reality facing the economy is the imminent issue of trade, which has been linked to immigration by President-elect Trump, whose planned tariffs on other countries would end up being absorbed by American consumers. Do you see this nonsense? When Trump was in power, the first term, tariffs worked. It worked to get our people employment because he's putting a tax on these other countries who are making a fortune. Their people, I don't know what they're paying their employees, but I do know that a bulk of the things they sell to the Americans is made by them in their country. So why not put a tariff if Americans can't work and eat? But fake outrage, as per usual, they're expecting us not to be able to comprehend. Reading comprehension is fundamental. Y'all see me in my own feed over on X, helping folks to get their life on some comprehension, because that's really missing with our people, and that's what they count on. That's how you get 92% black women to turn out the polls for Kamala, running on open borders of unvetted and unvaxxed illegals and abortions. So basically, murder black babies and allow the illegals to birth citizens when they step one foot into the country. Yes, I hope he ends birthright citizenship. I want us to be protected in the process. But why in the world should the 14th Amendment apply to everybody? That's ours. But once again, what have I always taught you? They weaponize our never-ending Holocaust to erase and replace us with immigrants. How in the world can the 14th Amendment apply to someone who's broken the law, crossed the border, and drops a baby? She gets to birth U.S. citizens. We get to kill our babies. And yet 92% black women voted for that. Voted for transgenders to share bathrooms with our girls and our ladies. To be able to compete against women in sports. That's what 92% of our registered black women voters voted for. So I'm here to try and gin up more support for my protest because y'all need to buckle up. This is going to take several election cycles before we turn the Titanic around. It just is what it is. I don't want to hear no complaints about Trump. I don't want nobody getting amnesia about Mr. Jordan Neely, about Miss Sandra Massey being murdered, and these folks being able to walk. I don't want to hear it. I don't want no amnesia when Trump gets back in office. I don't want nobody pretending that the race soldiers stop murdering unarmed black men, women, and children after George Floyd, after Joe Crow failed to give us an end to qualified immunity. I don't want y'all to forget that Joe Crow allowed 25 million plus into the country, unvetted and unvaccinated. I don't want to hear it from y'all. You make sure you remember every bit of what is happening to our people right now is under Joe Crow's administration. Don't get amnesia, because I'm going to call you out, and it's not going to be pretty. Okay, so, yeah, Trump knows what he's doing because he did it before, and it worked before. It was very effective. Boomer of Momentum Advisors told the Grio that both tariffs and mass deportations are inflationary, adding that Trump is planning a 25% tariff on goods exported from Canada and Mexico. They're still lying. The customer ends up paying an incremental cost. But yet we didn't see this outrage, right? We didn't see this outrage during the Joe Crow administration. So miss me with the fear-mongering. I'm not here for none of the propaganda, and neither should you. So with that being said, we're at 2:14. Let me get through some of the comments. Lord have mercy. Y'all been busy. Michael Penn states that the companies in foreign countries pay their employees almost nothing. Not my monkey, not my circus. That's not my problem. My ancestors worked as chattel slaves. So, yeah, that's for y'all to fight in your respective countries. You got to fight like we fought and are still fighting. Except now we're expected to fight for everybody. And it's time for us to throw everybody off the tick and be concerned about us exclusively, or we're done. Hi, Ivory Dreams. I left the Democratic Party over 20 years ago because California Democrats were against school vouchers. Absolutely, Ivy Dreams. They sure are. I've got 2 segments with Watson speaking that you need to check out. Very, very important school choice. School vouchers, so that you can educate your children wherever you deem that you please. Yeah, these are the kinds of things. Well, I'm beyond my childbearing years, but these are the kinds of things that should drive the young people out of the state of California, because they're setting us up for an epic failure preschool to prison pipeline. Oh, thank you, Michael. I appreciate you so much. Okay, agreed. Immigration needs to be put on hold, period, says Roots Tracker. Oh, Lord, why is this thing stuck? Correct, it does. Like I said, 282 million immigrants and 50 million DACA and illegals on deck on the low end to receive citizenship with the black vote. They tried it and it failed epically thanks to the Negro freedmen. This election cycle, we have to keep that same energy. Why can't the descendants of the American enslaved freedmen speak freely and advocate for our survival? Oh, no. Because it's in opposition to the goal. You see, they want to extinct our lineage to extinct our justice claim. They know they owe us. And now that we're demanding it and weaponizing the vote, it becomes even more urgent for them. This was a major setback. And the beauty and the horror of the freedmen is we're used to the backlash of the demon rats. We're used to them creating our problems and using our votes to be their solution. But we's woke now, using it in the proper context. They love to take everything we create and corrupt and co-opt it. That's what woke means. You're not standing for the demon rat nonsense anymore. But yes, sis, that's the plan. They want us dead. They want us to be our numbers mean too much power. We are still the swing vote. They'll lie to you and say that the Latinos swung the vote this election cycle for Trump, but their vote is usually split in half. They usually weaponize their vote. This was our first time, and the demon rats are very afraid of that. Their mission to upend us this election cycle failed. We have to continue to lean in. I know, Chuck Wu. It's all love, fam, because you're always over here, so I know. Thank you. It is all love. Hula Gang, mass deportation. Chuck Wu says, Black Americans are the premium Blacks of the diaspora. Your culture sets that standard that most other Blacks in the diaspora aspire to. Oh, Chuck Wu, you're a real ally to admit that. Folks want to treat us like we don't have no culture. But every time I look up, folks are emulating our culture. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. I really do, because it's so true. We are an amazing people. Okay, I'm just going through and picking up the more pertinent comments so we can get out of here. I got to cook and do all the rest of the stuff. The African is telling the truth. That African woman would cut our children's throats if she could. No lies detected. Now, I know there are exceptions, but I'm here to tell you they're very, very tribal. Very tribal. And they want our position in this country. I'm coming back to, I've called for a whole national boycott of melanated immigrants starring in our movies and in our TV shows. Because I get what Hollywood is complicit in doing, along with the immigrants and our government. They're trying to erase us. How in the world is there a whole immigrant playing Nat King Cole? How in the world was there a whole immigrant playing Martin Luther King Jr.? This is unacceptable. We need work in every industry, but this is happening across industries. But I'll be back with that, because they give zero damns about how they're helping and aiding to suppress our wages. They don't want to offer us. You've seen Monique fight about it. You've seen Taraji come out and admit it. Gabrielle Union. You've seen the Negro freedmen talking about how Hollywood don't like to pay them. Well, instead of paying them, they've decided to get in bed with the melanated immigrants to pay them the salaries we say are unacceptable. And that's happening across industries. That's why you see a Negro freedman blackout across industries. But that's a story for another day. Homegirl better, Marvin C., what's up, fam? Homegirl better make sure her visa is straight. She might be in that ice flight back to the continent. I hope so. I want them all gone. Let's see. Chuck Wu says, this is how all fresh off the boat immigrants think like, not just Africans. Most immigrants are Hispanics, not even African. That's very true, Chuck Wu. But you know what cuts like a knife for me? When Africans who sold my people into slavery, only about half, because many of us are the indigenous of this country. That's how they erase and replace you, family. They change your whole history out. Many of us were here before Columbus, honey. Trust and believe. But yes, so it's not just the fresh off the boat immigrants. It's not just Africans. This is taught to them by their parents. Yeah. And of course, our government is complicit in making sure any image of the Negro freedman that's put on the major screens and broadcast throughout the world demonizes the Negro freedman. They've been doing that since forever. So yes, it's not just Africans. It's all of the immigrants. I want them all gone. I really wanted to just be back to us and the antebellum whites. Get the Ellis Island whites out of here and get the POC out of here. The melanated immigrants. If you, get them out. If you're illegal, you're not a citizen, out. Because that's going to make it easier for us to get positions in the public, private sector, and in politics. We need our own caucus. We need our own party. We need our own not citizens, our own candidates. Excuse me. We need our own, because we are literally out here being taxed without representation. And that's on that broadcast, I do believe, from last week. I scrolled through hundreds of caucuses, none of which represent us. So we need our own. Okay, scrolling. Ivy Dreams, American freedmen, descendants of the enslaved, must fight for policies that benefit us. We must. We must be at the table, or we're going to consistently be on the menu. The CBC would sit up here and tell you, we're not talking to Trump. Well, they might not be talking to Trump, but my folks from the grassroots are talking to Trump. Praise God for that. We're bypassing the congressional black caucuses, mostly comprised of sellout FBA and melanated immigrants, to get at Trump's table. Had we done that the first term, who knows how much further along we would be. Michael says, capitalism is about economic exploitation. Absolutely. And to add to that, capitalism requires a bottom caste. And that's why you see a bunch of melanated immigrants willing to get into bed with our oppressors to make sure we don't get up off this bottom. Nobody wants to trade places, but it's time. Them folks and baby boomers are voting for sanctuary cities and demon rat leaders. Yes, Michael, very true. This is why my daughter shared about on her campus, the LGBTQ and the immigrants were really putting pressure on her to vote Skamala. She literally could not share that she was voting for deportation, closed borders, or be ostracized. Oh, yeah, he answered that, Chuck Wu. Yes, immigrants out here in California, Newsom made it against the law to ask for voter ID this election cycle. And literally that means anyone could have gone up to the polls and stated my name and address off my mailer and went right into the polls to vote. And people were voting illegally throughout the country. So the demon rats are not for voter ID for this reason. They want illegals to be able to vote. Universal health care would benefit Black Americans, and the government never wanted that. The government wanted us to die off after emancipation. Yes, Marvin C. For those of you who are new to the channel, once we were used, our ancestors were used as the shoes to build the wealthiest country in the world. Lincoln wanted to expatriate us to Liberia and other parts unknown. And we refused to leave, and we fought, and we died. We literally went to war with our own government and managed to eke out some benefits. And like I said, the silent gen and the baby boomers benefited the most. They stopped fighting after they got access to interracial poo and affirmative action and civil rights so that they could get gainful employment that our children can't right now. They're in a bad way because of immigration. Both Democrats and Republicans love illegal immigration because they receive money from big corporations to allow illegal entry. Absolutely. And the corporations wanted to suppress wages. Okay. See, they know that they've done a number to decimate the nuclear Negro freedman family. They know they've done that through the war on drugs and the war on poverty and abortion, unemployment and underemployment. And they know by and large that a lot of these immigrants know how to live 12 to a one-bedroom home. And, you know, each of them work their way out of it with our reparations, taxes, and Social Security. Because that's all they do. Our government gives them what we are long overdue. And they make sure they're more American than us. And so, yes, both parties. That's why I don't just blame the demon rats. They just happen to be the ones in charge of the country that just ran against Trump. But the Rhino Republicans in particular are comprised of a bunch of Ellis Island immigrants. And so just like we delineate from Black Americans, which are also called African American, flat blackness, Unity for Our Community came up with a delineation for white folks. There's the antebellum whites that have been here since our enslavement, and there are the Ellis Island whites that came here after our emancipation. The government is mostly comprised of Ellis Island whites. And so what you see have happened in this last election cycle, the antebellum whites and the Negro freedmen actually worked together without, I mean, they've been in conversations in certain rooms. I ain't talked to none of them because this ain't about loving Trump for me. It's about my lineage flourishing in the country of my ancestors and knowing that they don't have any place else to go and don't have any money to go, and that no government in the world is going to treat them as well as our government treats immigrants here with our reparations. Okay. So basically, without really knowing it, we kind of worked hand in hand with the antebellum whites who are also being replaced. You know, when you look at the salary structures, white folks ain't on top no more. They're bringing in melanated immigrants from all over the world to take over those executive level positions. And they're running politics. So what you see is Trump, who's an outlier, representing MAGA, which is due in large part antebellum whites, Tea Party. Okay. He represents their interest. And in representing their interest, we as Black American Negro freedmen, descendants of the emancipated, get to benefit from what comes of that. And so I don't know what a J.D. Vance is going to do, but I do know the Demon Rats have declared war on us after being their most loyal voter base for 70 years. And it's time for some get back. And we can't do that from the couch. Okay, moving. Yeah, Bernie here. Let me talk about that for a minute. America is the only advanced country where it does offer its citizens universal health care. I think he meant does not. Bernie Sanders has been saying this stuff for a long time. Bernie Sanders is a plant. He is just there to play charades and political theater. I worked Bernie's first campaign. He wasn't about that life. We thought we had a real one until we started to see him not fighting against the demon rats, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and the rest. And the, what do you call those people that vote? They're delegates, okay? The delegates were voting against the interest of the people, which cost Bernie the primary, his first time out, because that was about as much duping as I could stand. His first time out, the demon rats successfully stole the primary from Bernie. He was complicit when we went to fight in the courts against the Democratic Party, taking away all of our donations and giving them to Crooked Hillary. The courts all but said that it's the Demon Rat Party and the Demon Rats could do with their party what they please. That's when I knew that Bernie Sanders was playing political theater. Because once the courts ruled on that, I don't know which came first, but I do know that Bernie went and spoke with Barack Obama, and when he came out of those talks, he was telling us, who hated Crooked Hillary for some very real reasons. I'm not going to get into all that right now. I don't have much time left. He told us to go out and vote for her. And then he got in bed with Crooked Hillary, who was trying to blame Jill Stein as to why she lost the election. And they were trying to blame Russia, which later came out was a hoax that they made up. And nobody went to jail. So, you know, Bernie, I have fallen out of favor with him after the first time I was made a fool of. I wouldn't do that twice. Brian Thompson, thank you. Yeah, $10 million man. And I heard on another broadcast how all this little Lucci cat is a smokescreen. My understanding is that he cashed out some stocks that upset his shareholders and that he had a life insurance policy worth 10 times his salary. UHC holds a life insurance policy that's worth 10 times that man's salary. So that's $100 million. Allegedly, you can look that up, okay? Unions have been intentionally destroyed in the last 43 years, but they've been complicit in many ways, selling out the people. LA County said the median home cost here will be around $1 million. It already is, Marvin. Don't forget to check out local community colleges because some of them offer free tuition for academic learning and skilled trades. Thank you, Michael. Absolutely. Michael is an ally. Absolutely. This is a great, great idea. Please be sure to get the training you need so that when the deportations come through, our people will be in a position to take advantage of those positions. The illegals also help to continue California representation in D.C. Representatives go off of a population regardless of actual citizenship. Marvin, you are so accurate. Yes, indeed. That it absolutely did happen. That's why they're flooding the zone, flooding places where we are predominantly, pushing us out. They've been allowed to be in LA illegal way before this push for sanctuary city status. Big corporations receive tax breaks from various levels of the government. It is called at-will employment. Yes, it is. Very good, Marvin and Michael. Yes, Barbara Jordan was against illegal immigration. I'll share her video next week. By recruiting illegal immigrants, big corporations don't have to offer them Higher wages. Yes, we just discussed how that's Mayor Karen Bass's fear, is that without that illegal component, you have to pay Black American Negro freedmen, descendants of the emancipated, an American wage. That's why we want it gone. That's what 28% of our registered voters voted for. Yeah, Mark Morial was mayor of New Orleans from 94 to 2002. Before that, he was a state senator in the Louisiana Assembly. Afterwards, he was selected as CEO of the National Urban League. Well, Mackie Samuels, thank you for your comment, your contribution to the live. This is what the problem is. The selection of him as the CEO. They're in there to undermine us while pretending to be about that freedman life. They're not. Oh, come on now. B1 Beauty Supply states 40 acres in the MIM, Black American owned automaker. Thanks for sharing. We all need to look into that. A MIM, M-I-M. Okay. Marvin says he confirms Karen Bass's people are Latino. I know she was married to one, but at a glance, I thought when we first got in this fight that she was one of us. Ergo, why nothing has been done for us but our erasure and replacement with more of our people out here in beautiful, sunny California. Unfortunately, the multi-generational mulatto states, unfortunately, the Black Democrats in Maryland support and facilitate sanctuary policies for illegal aliens. Absolutely the truth. Well, isn't their own governor, or what is he, Wes Moore? Is he their governor? I think he's the governor or the mayor. Don't quote me. But yeah, he's a melanated immigrant. They're there to do their own bidding, not ours. We have to do it for ourselves. Brittany, Democrats stopped being mad at Trump a long time ago. He is a sick and troubled person who can't help the way he acts. It is Trump's supporters that Democrats find so disgusting and shameful. Honey, it's all political theater. It's all political theater. They know good and well why we're doing what we're doing in terms of a protest vote. They know good and well we were not demanding abortion and open borders. So I don't believe Trump is a sick and troubled person. They can't control the way he acts. Prior to running in politics, he seemed to have some awareness, some sense of self-control. We'll see what happens. The bottom line is it's a protest for me. And I'm going to lean in on it because the demon rats, you can tell by how they blame us that they still don't get what they've done to us and that this is their fault. Okay. Uh-oh, I jumped really high. Oh, wow. I like that. Oh, it jumped really. Oh, God, there's a lot of comments. Let me go down. Oh, okay. B1 Beauty Supply says, you're so right, sister. California is gone and Oakland is really gone. Honey, LA too. We just have little pockets down here remaining. Carson, Compton. I took my daughter to the dentist about a year or so ago. No, it's been a couple years, maybe a few years ago. I was over there. She had braces. Anyway, and when I went into the grocery store, I didn't find not one. This was in Carson. I did not see not one Negro freedman working. When you go into the banks, no. When you go into Compton, Very few of us, but I'm talking about in terms of working the restaurants, working in the malls, working in banking, working in the grocery stores. It is surreal. You don't want to become this. And that's why I'm here. Mackie says, California's population, 40% of Californians are Latino, 35% are white, 15% are Asian American, 5% are Black, 4% are multiracial, and fewer than 1% are Native American. That's the 22 American Community Survey. Thank you for sharing, Mackie. But this is what I keep teaching you all, right? Like when you allow immigrants to run your show, you can forget about reparations. That's what's happening out here. You'll have people like Neri Martinez. What is it called? When they doing redistricting of her district to ensure Black folks don't have a seat in the council. Yeah. Calling our people out of their names. Fighting them when they are on the Hill in Sacramento trying to get the reparations we're long overdue. Yeah. This is what happens when you allow them to take over your cities. You become California and you're just simply taxed without representation. You got nothing coming once Crayola wanton white supremacy is running your cities in your state. Mackie says, when Congresswoman Maxine Waters retires, Blacks in California will have no Black representatives in the U.S. Congress. We don't have none now. She don't represent us. Her district is Latino with her assistants. They don't represent us. Skamala didn't represent us. She just cosplays us. Maxine, please show me in the chat what she's done for us. But been complicit in why we're no longer here. We don't have anybody. We're done. We got to run our own. Mackie says, Charles Blow advocates for a reverse migration of Black Americans from the North, Midwest, and West back to the following 9 southern states: Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Maryland, Virginia, and Delaware. That's interesting, Mackie. I wonder why Maryland. Maryland, Virginia, D.C., it's demon rats. Interesting. Thank you for sharing, though. I wonder why Maryland. Cali resident, and my intent is to move to South Carolina. I was stationed in Charleston for some years and still have friends in the area. Cali is way too expensive, and all this sanctuary BS is just that, BS. I agree, Marvin, and I've got my feelers out too. Trust and believe. I'm trying to get somewhere where we are. It's hard to give it up, though. Living in walking distance to the beach, that's my gym. I love it here. But you're right. The cost of living, the suppressed wages due to mass immigration, and the fact that it's a sanctuary for them, and we're hardly here. Our numbers have decreased immensely. States are the true centers of power in the U.S. States control the lion's share of the issues that impact Black lives: criminal justice, judicial processes, education, healthcare, and economics. Absolutely. But if we're not voting, if we're not sitting on the councils, if we're not running, if we're not voting, we get what we get, and that's it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Our kids will not have advantages until we get all the way immersed in the politics of this country. Maryland now has a Black governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, state treasurer, and speaker of the assembly. Hi, Mackie. Thank you for your comment. I'm not as invested in what color people are. I'm invested in the lineage and having grassroots representation, because I've seen way too many Black faces in high places, or melanated faces, I've gone to say, melanated faces in high places that look like us, that are working to undermine us, and they're being paid our reparations to do so. So I'm not impressed by that. That's what the demon rats want us to be impressed with, that people look like us while undermining us and marching us off to the guillotine. So I don't care about that. I care about policy that favorably impacts the Negro freedmen. That's what I care about. Strictly. You can be purple. If you're offering policies to help my lineage flourish in the country of our ancestors, then you will get my vote. Otherwise, it's a no for me. Both Maryland and Delaware have elected Black women as U.S. senators. Angela Alsobrooks and Lisa Blunt Rochester. Once again, it matters not unless they are Negro freedmen descendants of the emancipated working on behalf of the grassroots. I really don't care. States with high Black populations: Louisiana, 32.8%, Mississippi, 37.8%, Alabama, 26.8%, Georgia, 33.1%, South Carolina, 26.3%, North Carolina, 22.2%, Maryland, 31.7%, Virginia, 20%, Delaware, 23.8%. It matters not if they have no political power to advance the line. That's what I'd like to know. Of these highly Black populated states, which ones boast the most Negro freedmen descendants of the emancipated, and which one boasts the most descendants of the emancipated that hold political power? You don't have those numbers because the OMB told you they're not allowing us to delineate. They're going to extinct us in flat blackness, and no one will be the wiser because they're too stupid to understand that Black is a whole ethnicity in this country, not a skin color. I'm not yelling at you, Mackie. I'm yelling at how we've been duped. So it matters not if the majority of the majority that are Black in hue and are still doing Crayola wanton white supremacist business with our oppressors. Black people in America should reverse the Great Migration, return to the Blackest states of the Union to amass political power. Charles Blow, South to Black Power documentary. I'll watch it, but once again, I'm not interested in being with a bunch of Black folks with no power. I'd rather stay out here and at least enjoy my amenities. Perfect weather. You couldn't ask for better weather. And a beautiful landscape, at least where I stay, and for most of the state of California, it's beautiful. Only in our communities. Now, the ones that are wealthier, they're not really owned by us anymore. They've been gentrified. So I'm not interested in joining a bunch of Black folks that ain't got no power to change our circumstances, to stop the government's genocidal plans for our lineage specifically. I could just take a flight and go party with y'all on occasion and retreat back to my favorite gym, the beach. That's the way I see it. You could tell Charles Blow that too. I don't want to be with a bunch of oppressed Black people. And I don't want to be with a bunch of boule that don't give a damn about the collective. The way I was raised was as a village. I am my brother's keeper. I don't want to be with a bunch of educated Negroes that run out here and vote Skamala to the detriment of the collective. I don't want to be around powerless Black folks. We should migrate within the U.S. to the states where we have large percentages of the state's population to control the politics of those states. They've got these large populations now. Are they controlling the politics of these states? I don't think so. But put it in the chat. What do I know? Well, I'm at the top, family. I'm not going to go down to the new comments. I went through a bunch of comments, and I'm so grateful for your contribution to the channel as my co-host. You've been amazing. I just really am happy to be back, happy to be educating. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications. I'll be back with you guys next Saturday for another episode. We'll see what God places on my heart to bring you guys. There may be a part 2 because I wasn't quite finished with some of the other articles I want to present. I have to cut it up so I could include the comments. Thank you, co-host in the chat. Thank you for those who are watching on Facebook. Thank you for all of you who tuned in here at ScrewTube. I really appreciate you more than I have the words to convey. And with that being said, family, I want to wish you guys an amazing, incredible rest of your Saturday and work week. We're in the season, the holiday season. So it's pretty cheerful. I want you guys to decompress from all of this. Get outside, enjoy the sunlight. Go to some of the festivities that are happening around your cities. LA is usually a really great time with a bunch of lights and all different manifestation of greatness all throughout. So please, if you're here in Los Angeles, get out and enjoy Cali while you're here, whether you're visiting, whether you live here. Don't allow the weight of what I presented to you to keep you stuck in a rut. That is something I'm doing very differently this time around. I'm not allowing the fight to get on the inside, which is why I come to you once a week. I may bump that to 2 times a week because I've got so much to share and not enough time on this 90-minute broadcast to do it. But with that being said, family, let me pray our prayer of protection that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever Negro freedmen, descendants of the emancipated and its allies are, God truly is, because, family, you are the face of God. Yes, you are the voice of God. You are the body tempo of the Spirit of the living God. Until we meet again next week, I'm believing for each and every one of us a ton of love, peace, and reparations.